أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله، الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أجيب هذا الدستور الإسلام. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة فخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Today is the first Friday of the month of Sha'aban. And for many people, this is a time that they're not paying attention to this month, because it falls between Rajab, which is one of the holy months, the sacred months that fighting is prohibited in, and Ramadan, the month that we fast and we exceed our worship of Allah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was known to be fasting a lot in the month of Sha'aban. And we know that the authentic hadith that Usama bin Zayd radiallahu anhuma, he said, Ya Rasulullah, لم أرك تصوم شهرا ما تصوم من شعبان. I don't see you fasting a month like I see you fast in Sha'aban. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, هذا شهر يقبل الناس عنه. That this is a month that the people are neglectful of. And it is a month in which the deeds are raised to Rabbil Alameen. The deeds that for the whole year they're raised to Allah Rabbil Alameen. وَحِبُّ أَنْ يُرْفَ عَمَلِي وَأَنَا صَائِمٌ. And I want that my deeds, my worship, my act are raised up to Allah when I'm fasting. So we see that Sha'aban has a special virtue in it. Number one is that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to love to fast in this month more than the other month, the second month. Number two, it is a month in which our deeds are raised up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the whole year. So that If we are in a state of goodness when our deeds are raised up to Allah, that's a good sign for us. But if someone's deeds are raised up to Allah while he is wrong himself, then that's a bad sign for him. And it also shows that when the trend is for people to be ignorant or to be heedless of the worship of Allah, that is the time for a Muslim to pay attention to the worship of Allah. Because in this statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, هَذَا شَهْرٌ يَغْفُلُ النَّاسُ, that this is a month that people are forgetful. So when a Muslim who worships Allah all year round, he knows that the people are not paying attention to this month, this should motivate him to increase his worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, when someone enters the market, which are the most hated of places to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is encouraged to recite the dua, the dhikr for entering the masjid, in which if he recites it, Allah will raise him hundreds of thousands of degrees and remove his sins by the same measure. Why? Because going to the market is the place where people are forgetful of the remembrance of Allah. They're forgetful of the time, which is why you don't see any clocks in the mosques, because they want you to forget about Allah. They want you to forget about the akhirah and focus on what's in front of you. Now, the Quran revealed Ramadan. That is the reason why we fast in Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, شَهْرُ رَمَضَانَ الَّذِي أُنْزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنُ, that Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. So in this month, we should be doing something to help us prepare for Ramadan. And the most important thing that we can do is to increase in the things that we normally do in Ramadan. So if we are planning to fast in Ramadan, we should be increasing our fast now. If we are planning to be reading Quran, we plan to be doing Qiyam al-Layl, we should be increasing in our Qiyam al-Layl. We should be increasing in our Quran. So if someone has been neglectful of the Quran the rest of the year, he should start ramping it up now. So that if he had a quarter of a, if he's used to reading 1 page a day, then start reading 2 pages a day. So that when Ramadan comes, it's not so easy, not so hard for him to get into the Ramadan spirit. We know that in any major tournament, during the regular season, it's intense enough. But when the playoffs come, the players come before the game to warm up, and they pay special attention to their pre-game routine, so that when the game starts, they're at the top of the game. Many of us have friends, just like us, who work 9 to 5, or 5 times a day, 5 days a week. By Monday, they come back with a cast under a leg. And you ask them what happened. He said, I was playing basketball tournament, and I broke my leg. I tore my leg. He's a weekend warrior, which means that throughout the whole week, he was not doing any activity, any exercise. But then Saturday morning, he just took off his shirt and started playing basketball hardcore. What happened? He wasn't ready. He blew out his leg. Likewise, Ramadan is something that we need to prepare ourselves. That many Muslims, you will not see them go hungry for the sake of Allah one day in the year outside of Ramadan. Not one day. And then when the first day of Ramadan comes, they're not able to handle it. And in the Muslim countries, the number of patients the first few days of Ramadan jumps up 10 times. Because of all the health problems, the shock that they're not able to handle with Ramadan. And not only it is a big shock for them, but many Muslims are not able to get into the Ramadan mode, the feeling of Ramadan until the 20th day, until Ramadan is almost over. But if we take the time now to prepare the month of Sha'aban, we will be able to experience that delight from the first night of Ramadan. From the first night of Ramadan, inshallah. And another way that we can prepare for Ramadan is that we can come to the masjid once. We can come to the masjid once. Because the first night of Ramadan, we see that the masjid is almost full. But the night before that, it was almost empty. So we know the Muslims are here. But we need them to be in the masjid all year round. We need to show Allah that in a month where nobody is paying attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to show Him that we're a year-round Muslims, not just Ramadan Muslims. do all your Eid shopping? Now. Do all your preparation for the food? Now. And if someone is known to be picky about his food, a gentle reminder should be made to him that Ramadan is a month of worship, not food. So he should not be thinking so much about the quality of his food, but about the quality of his worship. And I remind myself too, that we should seriously consider logging off social media, Twitter, Facebook, so that we can focus more on worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without distraction. And whatever you're listening to in the car, switch it out. Switch to Quran, switch to the stories of the Hadith, switch to the Seerah, so that your whole environment makes you facilitates your worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before Ramadan, so you're ready to go. In other words, do everything you can to free yourself for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, most masajid have fiqh workshops, fasting workshops. Every Muslim needs to know the simple rules for fasting so that his worship will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will be a shame that someone wakes up 30 days in a row and fasts 30 days in a row, but he doesn't know if his salah or his siyam is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let alone Laylatul Qadr. So take the time out. It takes an hour or two. This masjid probably has it. The local masjid have workshops that cover the fiqh of siyam, the fiqh of Ramadan, in a short amount of time, so that you can at least get the minimum required for you to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Astaghfirullah, innahu ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. In the first part of the khutbah, I mentioned something that we should be doing in order to prepare ourselves for Ramadan in the month of Sha'aban, the great month of Sha'aban, in which many people are heedless of the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the second part, I want to draw your attention to something that we should not be doing. And that is that we should not single out any specific day in Sha'aban for special worship. That especially back home, the 15th of Sha'aban is considered a special day in which people single out for fast, they distribute candy, they single out the night before for praying the Hajj. But one should know that all of the hadith about this 15th of Sha'aban, the midpoint of Sha'aban, they're weak or fabricated. And that is something that we should not be doing. We should not be relying on any unauthentic hadith about what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He guarantees in the Quran that He will protect the revelation. And the revelation does not just only mean the Quran. It also means what He sent down to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the form of the Sunnah. So if a Muslim wants to know how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he should rely solely on the Quran and the authentic Sunnah, what has been reliably transmitted from Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to a connected chain. And he should not worry that if he does this, he will miss some part of the religion. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He raised the scholars of hadith, and if something is part of our religion, it will have reliable transmission to support it. Some might say it's allowed to use a weak hadith to support the practice of something that's already supported. The virtuous practice. But I would say that these are not just weak hadith. These are very extremely weak hadith. And some of them are fabricated. So it's not allowed to use these kinds of hadith. We should also know that something that is originally loved by Allah can become invalid if you do it for the wrong reason. And what do I mean by this? If someone wants to pray 2 rak'ahs because he did wudu, this is fine. Because the reason for doing this is something that was confirmed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's the reason why Bilal radiallahu anhu is entered in Jannah. Because he used to love making two rak'ah every time we make wudu. So this reason is something that is confirmed by the Sharia. Now, if someone says, every time the rain starts falling, I'm going to pray 2 rak'ah. Just because it started falling, the rain. We would say the 2 rak'ah is good, but you're doing it for the wrong reason. So you cannot expect Allah to accept it from you. Because the reason has to be right. The number has to be right. The place has to be right. The time has to be right. The way you do it has to be right. So all these things have to be right in order for Allah to accept what you do. No one can say, I'm going to fast 30 days in Sha'aban in place of Ramadan, because that's the wrong time. No one's going to say, I'm going to stand in Mustafa, because that's the wrong place. He has to fast, he has to stand out of it. No one is going to say, I'm going to slaughter a horse, because he can't slaughter a horse. No one is going to say, I'm going to start my wudu with my feet, because he's doing it the wrong way. So we have to meet the conditions for the following Rasulullah. And one of the conditions is to do the ibadah for the right reason. And making the night or the day of the 15th of Sha'aban a reason for ibadah is not something that came in the time of Rasulullah. It is not something that is in the practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And lastly, I remind myself and all of you that fasting, the month of Ramadan, is something that Allah gave as a gift to us. There is no need for us to feel apprehensive, how am I going to do this? Because in the same ayah, Allah says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wants to make things easy for you. He wants to make things easy for you. He doesn't want to make things hard for you. So if someone says, fasting in Ramadan is hard, unnecessarily hard, he's worried, he should remember that Allah loves us. He loves the Muslims. He wants to make things easy for you. And you will find that in Ramadan, you will be doing things that you never thought that you were able to do. And that's why our colleagues, they say, how do you do it? How do you fast 30 days a month like that? How do you do that? And we just shrug our shoulders. We say, we're just doing what Allah told us to do. But that's the reason. Because when you do what Allah told you to do, He will make you be able to do things that you didn't think you were able to do. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. That whoever has taqwa of Allah, Allah will make a way out for him from all his problems. And the month of Ramadan is a month tied with taqwa. And many times you know that taqwa is to protect yourself from the hellfire. But as-sawmu junnah, the fasting is a shield. But what many people don't also realize, that it's a shield and protection from the harm of this world too. It protects from the diseases. It protects from obesity. It strengthens your immune system. Of course, this is not the reason why we fast, but this is extra motivation. This should be more of a cause for us to celebrate the month of Ramadan, the way that our ancestors from the first generation celebrated when Ramadan was sent down to them and they were told to fast. أقول ما تسمعون استغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره حسنه وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اعز الاسلام والمسلمين وذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر اعداء الدين. سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اقيموا الصلاه.